If you're a kid, please make note of this. It's for your own good.
You know, as this is a remake of an older video, it's reminded me. 2016 felt like it was so long ago, but also not at the same time. Time sure is weird.
So, a handheld recently turned 10, my favorite franchise turned 25, and now this, the franchise about a speedy blue talking hedgehog recently turned 30. Man, where does the time go? If you have had any interaction with the internet, or know a thing or two about games, I'm sure you know about Sonic. What started as a potential rival to Mario with something to set them apart, eventually became a sensation among many people and a popular series to talk about. For better or for worse. Now, as longtime viewers of mine might know, I once did an entire month of countdowns dedicated to Sonic. Even to this day, they're still my most viewed videos on my channel. Like, wow, that's a complete steamroll. But I'd like to think I've become more seasoned since then. What, I was using iMovie at the time? Glad to have a fresh new place for an update. After all, despite its ups and downs, Sonic has always been a series that inspired me and shaped a lot of my interest in games. I was always captivated by the sheer style the series always had, and the characters really helped the world come alive. Even if there are low points, when Sonic turns out something great, even in the most unexpected areas, it genuinely feels like something special. And that brings me to the 10 games I want to talk about today. Nothing else to add except, let's blast through this with Sonic Speed!
Sonic boom, Sonic boom, Sonic boom, keeps you running.
Well, this'll be an adventure, alright. I never really owned any Sega systems growing up, nor did I ever have a GameCube, nor did I ever bother to use the Wii's backwards compatibility, so I never got the chance to experience Sonic Adventure until much later down the line. But getting to play the game that kickstarted Sonic's 3D career was honestly really pleasant, and even today, I still think it has merit. Even though I'm not terribly huge on Amy's gameplay and especially not Big's, the good stuff that is here still manages to hold the package together. The playstyles of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all felt like the devs looked at what was fleshed out with them in the 2D space and adapt that to the third dimension. They all play very fluidly and even have some added quirks to make the jump feel even more immersive, like the homing attack, canonically making its debut here, and various upgrades which became a recurring element in the series, but not a staple. There's plenty of great levels in this game that reward both speed and exploration, and that explorative nature combined with each hub world make everything feel like one big adventure, which is an effort I can appreciate. It's clear that Sega and Sonic Team wanted to focus on adapting Sonic into 3D, given previous attempts, but with how much they changed and upsized, even down to the story being a little more than just Ray on Eggman's parade, Sonic Adventure is an important entry, and it at least deserves credit for establishing a lot of what made Sonic who he is today. Oh, and their shooting stages with Gamma. They're admittedly filler, but I like them. They're fun.
Sonic boom, Sonic boom, Sonic boom, keeps you running.
This is the part where some eyebrows might be raised. But let's be real, when talking about Sonic, that's bound to happen with any entry. Sonic Forces is a very weird game to talk about amidst the fandom. From what I've seen, most people don't seem to absolutely despise this game, especially when you compare it to what else the series has, but the same people couldn't really get into it either, and look back on it with rather dour thoughts. Heck, even the people I've seen like it, don't like it that much. And I can kinda see why. Most stages end way too soon, thus the game feels way too short. Infinite, while having cool ideas, definitely got the short end of the stick in terms of development. Classic Sonic serves no purpose in this plot, and has an incredibly stiff playstyle, and most of the positives that can be said about it, or even I can say about it, can be applied to earlier entries. That said, however, I honestly think the amount of good in this game has made it all worth it. Shortcomings with Infinite aside, I honestly really got into the story for making the stakes seem higher, while including some admittedly humorous moments to show that the characters do have a sense of spirit and charisma in the face of disaster. The stages, while short, still do have set pieces and visuals to set them apart from one another. Even if it's a location used from a previous game, something is done to make it feel relatively fresh, and how everything progresses feels like you're actually fighting back against a giant empire of robots. There's also things I like such as the bosses and the visual style, but I especially want to give credit to the custom character. I'm surprised they actually did something like this considering the context of original characters within the community, but they really made it work. Your character feels about as part of the world as everyone else does, and I love how they spice up the traditional gameplay, lacking a boost, but having these really cool Wispins to make up for it. honestly made it worth bringing them back without feeling forced. This feature needs to come back in a future Sonic game, just saying that now. So, Forces may not be all that well liked, but it's proof that if a game can nail the fun and spirit I crave for in this series, then I'll be on board either way. One last fist bump, anyone?
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, keeps you running.
Okay, now we're just getting weird. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2 is another strange one. If people aren't looking at it with indifference, namely with it carrying a lot of expectations with that number, they've most likely forgotten that it and Episode 1 even exist, with a certain other Sonic game we'll get to later certainly not helping. And okay, Episode 1 isn't that great, I agree to that, but I just really got into Episode 2. Everything returning for Episode 1 has been tweaked for the better, or completely streamlined, leading to the overall controls and physics feeling so much more fluid, which honestly works with how much the level design was stepped up. Every one of these zones offers unique takes on previously established ideas, but these takes are so creative that it all feels like these ideas are being done for the first time. Helped out by how very few level themes are reused between acts, and how much exploration and ways to get to the goal ring open up with proper usage of Sonic and Tails tag actions. Bosses are also miles better than other 2D Sonic games, and it's a comfortable ride to grab all the emeralds for Super Sonic usage. When it really comes down to it, I just find it really easy to sit down and just play Sonic 4 Episode 2 for some good old fast 2D platforming fun, and honestly I think it deserves more credit than it gets. So give this one a shot. It's miles better than what Episode 1 might suggest.
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, keeps you running.
Looking at this particular entry, I'm actually pretty confused as to why it's forgotten about, or addressed with slight ire or sheer indifference when someone does name drop it. Not to say it's without flaw, there are select few level ideas that aren't very good, and the boss lineup is pretty mediocre, but not only do I think the good vastly outweighs the bad here, but I also really admire just how much Sonic Lost World attempts to stand out in its own quirky little way. The Lost Hex offers so many well-designed levels that offer so many different areas to explore, and it's just fun looking around each of them, experimenting with what you can do, and finding whatever goodies or whatever routes to the end there are available. Finishing levels in record time can be very exhilarating, on top of very brain-taxing here, because of just how much of the level you can skip if you just look for the right paths, instead of just blazing through jumping every once in a while. At the same time, the different routes can lead to different experiences each time you play a level, which does wonders in leaving incentive to replay them, sometimes in separate ways. In hindsight, Lost World was truly one of a kind, going for a more explorative direction, while still catering to those who prefer to blaze through levels like the Speed Demon Sonic is. It's a core gameplay style that Sega has not tried before, nor since. I really think this game deserves to be talked about and appreciated more. It deserves the attention for all the interesting things it does.
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, keeps you running.
Even if only one game from the original trilogy got on this list, I still will enjoy and respect these games. I remember how much they've inspired people around the world, and how they've actually still held up remarkably even today, some more than others. But out of all of them, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is my choice for the high point of that time frame. It'd just be really cool if they simply improved upon the weaker aspects of Sonic 2, but rather than stop there, it instead went the extra mile and added in so much more. This was the game that refined the basis of multiple playable characters and set the standard for that trope of later games. And this approach actually opens up different pathways in the levels, so that each playthrough feels completely different, and each level remains interesting to explore even if you're binging the game, which is especially noticeable with Knuckles, canonically making his debut here. While on these levels, there are more of them, they are all bigger in general, and no matter who you choose, there is plenty to discover. This was the installment that had tropes that reappeared in select Sonic games like the elemental shields and special stages being found by exploring. This was also where the Super Emeralds were introduced, meaning more special stages and more ways to beat the game entirely. This game seriously one-upped the series after Sonic 2 redefined the establishment of what the series wanted to be. It's a much bigger game entirely in terms of scope, and all the content it has will ensure a lot of playtime hours to be clocked in. I easily see why so many people hold it in high regard, and it's an easy must-play if you haven't gotten the chance to do so already.
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, keeps you running.
Can you feel life moving through your mind? Can you feel time slipping down your spine? If you can, then it's time to live and learn. Even though I will always appreciate Adventure 1 for the foundation it laid for 3D Sonic, Sonic Adventure 2 expanded upon what could be done with it and reached for all new heights. It's still an important chapter in the series, and I'm sure everyone familiar with Sonic has something to say about it. There's plenty of refinements and new additions that would later become staples in every subsequent game they had an appearance in, and the game has a lot more of that charm that overall defines the series. I mean, you ride a board through a city in level 1, ride a rocket off an island in another level, and kill a ghost by punching it later down the line. That can summarize what I'm getting at. Beyond that, Sonic Adventure 2 is still a blast to play, even today. There's only 3 gameplay styles as opposed to 6 like in Adventure 1, but all 3 each have their own qualities that really do spice up how the game progresses. Sure, the mech shooting and treasure hunting stages do have some issues, but they overall accomplish what they set out to do, and have their creative set pieces. But the speed stages with Sonic and Shadow, the latter of whom made his debut here, are easily the best part of the game. They are an absolute spectacle, but also have separate routes to get to the goal, and provide tests on timing and good judgment. They're easily some of my favorite gameplay moments in 3D Sonic, and you bet I play them multiple times to get the best rank possible. And that's what makes Adventure 2 a go-to Sonic game for me in terms of fun, and I have almost no nostalgia for it. Even though this game does represent the end of console exclusivity for Sega, this did mark a time where they began to branch out to other platforms, and share their love for Sonic. And for that, combined with what else makes Adventure 2 what it is, rightfully gives it the reputation it has built up over all these years.
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, keeps you running.
There has been a trend that I find way more positives in some Sonic games on here than I do negatives, despite the negatives sticking out like a sore thumb. But honestly, in this case, it's pushed to a whole new level, because I see stuff that's amazing, and it's all within my reach. Not quite a Sonic game that's universally disliked per se, in fact I'm kind of in the same boat as most people. There's a ton of cracks at the seams that hold Unleashed back from being masterful, but the things that are good are not only some of the best in Sonic's career, but they also make Sonic Unleashed one of the more ambitious titles in the series. It pushes what it could do with this concept and what it could do with the system all the way through, from the story, to the levels, to themes, even down to presentation. The world adventure is perfectly defined with the stakes they have set up, and it feels like they're a great mesh between more serious turns, cartoony laughs, and even admittedly heartwarming moments. And for gameplay, the fact that this is truly a world adventure makes each level in terms of design and scenery all feel visually distinct from one another. They provide some of my personal favorite 3D Sonic gameplay ever too. The boost formula makes a fantastic debut in 3D, reaching for speeds that are just downright insane. But there's tons of routes to explore, and tons of opportunities to score better for higher ranks, that I just want to replay levels just to absorb how much they have in them. But the Werehog stages were definitely not left hung to dry either. Sure, the day stages are better, but I find these a good change of pace to provide refreshing takes on these locations. The challenging and fun platforming, combined with the satisfying combat sequences with incentive to fight and continue growing stronger, all make these worth going through. There's definitely room for improvement with this game, but man, it tries its hardest with all it has, and the final result is one title that will always stick with me. I'd love to see this game get ported to modern consoles, just for the fact that it can be appreciated more.
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, keeps you running.
The legacy Sonic has built up over the years is nothing short of monumental. It's gotten to a point where fans want to contribute their own takes on the series, but none of them are as inspiring as what happened when Christian Whitehead and Simon Tomley came aboard. I mean, starting with fan games, to making official ports of earlier Sonic games, to making an official new title, that's just living the dream right there. It's a glorious story that gets upheld by how Sonic Mania itself is as a game. Just about everything people love about the older titles is here and accounted for, but there are plenty of new additions and ironed out kinks that make the gameplay all the more enjoyable. Going in line with the celebration this title provides, several zones from the older games were brought back, but given some really solid redesigns where they all feel new, and they mix so well with all the new zones provided. Every turn, there's something fresh and something exciting coming your way, while still giving you some classic platforming and a high speed that Sonic is known for. The bosses are also surprisingly solid, the sprite art style is just flat out beautiful and makes the world feel even more alive, and if you've been a fan of the series for a while, the number of callbacks and Easter eggs is off the charts. This isn't just pandering, this is respecting the old days, but making something completely new for everyone to enjoy. I can totally see why someone would call this their favorite game in the series, because it's just one giant love letter for the Sonic fan within all of us.
Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, keeps you running.
There will always be people out there who prefer what Sonic was back in his debut, but there are also those who prefer what he became when he went 3D, or what he's been a part of recently. That's why there's a Sonic game that has a little bit of everything. Sonic Generations aims to appeal to each and every corner of the fandom for another anniversary, combining aspects of the past with aspects of the present, and bringing them into something everyone can enjoy. And they knocked it out of the park! There's an equal amount of zones for each era, Genesis, early 3D, and more modern 3D, well, modern for 2011 standards, man I feel old, and each of the levels selected pay tribute to the originals while doing something almost unrecognizable with them. Almost like Sega was doing redrafts of all these levels with two gameplay styles. There's so much fun to go through, combined with how classic and especially modern Sonic play out. The former carries some attributes on the Genesis days, with a higher emphasis on keeping the speed going, while the latter has the boost style from Unleash returning, but tweaked in just the right areas to be that extra bit more fun. The bosses also got great makeovers as well, being adapted to these gameplay styles, yet also feeling brand new. And if you want to get everything, I'm pleased to report that the levels do reward you for exploring, and there's several missions that have their own rankings, so there's plenty of great playtime hours to be had. They had a lot to work with in terms of generations, but with how much love and care went into it, it's a Sonic game I will always pick up when I want some good fun, and it celebrates 20 years with such great style. But there is one Sonic game I prefer above all the rest, so we'll get to it right after going over these honorable mentions. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Almost every issue I had with Sonic 1 was fixed, and it's an overall exhilarating game to play even after all this time. Also introducing Tails is an automatic plus. Sonic Advance 2. I like the higher emphasis on speed compared to the original, and each level plays out extremely well, making it easy to admire how fast it is. She in the process of reaching the special stages blows. Sonic Rush. One too many bottomless pits for my liking, but it's always satisfying to get a good run in. Also introducing Blaze is an automatic plus. And finally, Sonic and the Black Knight. I admit this one is more of a me entry since it definitely has issues, but it's got some really good stuff in it. Sonic has the power to make generations of people happy. He has come a long way since his inception, and continues to go strong thanks to loads of talented people. But amidst all of that, when he reached for the stars, a colorful spectrum was born. Even with all my recent playthroughs, picking this game for the number one spot was probably the easiest decision I made for it. And considering my love for the series, that might seem pretty wacky, but can you blame me? Sonic Colors is the game that perfectly defines what Sonic means to me. Sonic doesn't need to go beyond just stopping Eggman from being the mad genius he is, nor does he need to incorporate a bunch of gameplay style and depth to be fun. I mean, I welcome it, if the previous entries are enough to go by, but if the core concept is just fleshed out enough, then you can do whatever you want with it. And that is exactly what Colors does. Despite how straightforward it is, it manages to be entertaining with all the hilarious writing and great character moments, yet engaging with the wisps and the setting of Eggman's incredible interstellar amusement park, featuring the bucket of sushi. Now with fish. But more importantly, the gameplay feels so refined and so smooth that I never get tired of it. The boost returns, along with the double jump, but with the levels being as wide open as they are, you can use these moves and take some wild routes to score points. And the wisps add on an extra layer to make everything flow better. Sure, you can run to the end like the speedy rodent you are, but you can also use these little guys to explore, find your own ways around the level, or just be even more awesome. The wisps have not been done any better since, hands down. And with levels so diverse and fun, I'm just lost in this game, absorbing how much fun I am having, running through the cosmos, or even in a land filled with giant food. From all of that, Colors is an absolute joyride and a spectacle from beginning to end. It is everything I love about Sonic, and it is the Sonic game I choose to spend my time on when I just want a simply stellar 3D platformer. It's perfect. Plain and simple. I am the Lightning Ripper, and I'll continue to love and support the series for days on end. Happy 30th birthday, Sonic! Also, would you please bring Sonic Colors over to modern consoles? It deserves to be appreciated by all.